The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched higher than any building on Earth. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, their voices creating a noise that echoed off the crystal walls. Captain Minho stood in the center of it all, his hands tied behind his back with energy restraints. He did not look afraid. Next to him, Dr. Hana kept her eyes on the floor, and Ambassador Yuna stood tall with her chin raised. The Supreme Chancellor, a being made of light and shadow, raised one glowing appendage. The hall fell silent. Humanity, the Chancellor's voice boomed through translation devices. You have been called before this council to answer for your crimes. Minho wanted to laugh. Crimes. They called it crimes to explore the stars. They called it crimes to build and grow and reach for more. In 200 years, the Chancellor continued, you have spread to 47 star systems. Other species take thousands of years to do the same. You build weapons when we ask for peace. You refuse to slow down when we ask for caution. You are dangerous. A Veltrax commander stepped forward. His species looked like massive insects covered in blue armor. Humans are aggressive. Humans are unpredictable. We have seen their history. They make war on themselves. They destroy their own planet. And now they bring this chaos to the galaxy. Yuna stepped forward. We have followed every law. We have paid every tax. We have not attacked anyone. You exist as a threat, another council member said. This one looked like a floating jellyfish made of glass. Your very nature threatens the peace we have maintained for 50,000 years. Hana finally looked up. You are afraid of us because we are different. Because we move fast. Because we want to see what is beyond the next star. Exactly, the Veltrax commander said. And that is why you must be stopped. The vote came quickly. Minho watched as the numbers appeared on the great screens above. 847 species voted yes. Only one voted no, humanity. The decision is made, the Chancellor announced. Humanity is exiled from all Council territories. You have 10 standard cycles to evacuate every colony and return to your home system. After that, a barrier will seal your space. Any ship that crosses it will be destroyed. You will remain there isolated forever. Minho felt his heart sink, but his face showed nothing. Yuna began to speak, to argue, to plead. But the council members were already leaving. The decision was final. 3 days later, Minho stood on the bridge of his ship, the Horizon. Thousands of human vessels filled the space around him. They were evacuating the outer colonies, bringing millions of people back to Earth's sector. It was the largest retreat in human history. Captain, his pilot called out, we have everyone from New Sol. The colony is empty. Good. Set course for the barrier. We are going home. But Minho did not feel like he was going home. He felt like he was going to prison. Hana worked in her lab on the lower deck studying the maps. Something bothered her. The Council had given humanity a large area around Earth, perhaps because they felt guilty. The space included Earth and 30 nearby star systems, but the Council's maps were old, based on surveys from thousands of years ago. She pulled up newer data, information that human probes had gathered. Her eyes went wide. Captain Minho, you need to see this. Minutes later, Minho stood behind her looking at the screen. Hana pointed to several points of light. These are jump gates, she said. Ancient ones. The Council's maps do not show them because they are so old even the Council forgot about them. Jump gates to where? I do not know. But they are not pointing into Council space. They point outward, beyond the galactic rim, to places no one has mapped. Minho stared at the screen. A small smile crossed his face. Do not tell anyone yet. Not until we are behind the barrier. The barrier went up on schedule. Humanity watched as a wall of energy surrounded their space, cutting them off from 90% of the galaxy. Ships tried to cross it as a test. The barrier destroyed them in seconds. On Earth, riots broke out. People were angry. They had done nothing wrong, yet they were being punished. Politicians gave speeches. Some called for war against the Council. Others called for acceptance and peace. Yuna sat in her office, now empty of purpose. She was an ambassador with no one to meet. She had failed her people. A message came through on her private channel. It was from Minho. Ambassador, do not lose hope. We have found something. Meet me at the research station. 3 weeks later, the first human ship approached one of the ancient jump gates. Minho commanded the vessel personally. Hana stood next to him, her hands shaking with excitement. Yuna watched from Earth, connected by video link. The jump gate was enormous, a ring of dark metal 20 kilometers across. It floated in empty space, covered in symbols no one could read. As the ship approached, the gate began to glow. "Power readings are off the scale," Hana said. "It is activating on its own. Should we turn back?" the pilot asked. Minho shook his head. "No." The council locked one door. "Let us see if there is another one open." The gate erupted with light. A tunnel of twisted space opened before them. Minho gave the order and the ship entered. For 30 seconds, the universe turned inside out. Colors that did not exist filled the view screen. The ship's instruments went crazy. Then suddenly, everything was calm. They had arrived somewhere new. Before them stretched a region of space unlike anything in the galactic maps. Thousands of stars glittered in strange colors, and between those stars structures floated. Massive rings, ancient stations, the ruins of a civilization that had died long ago. "Where are we?" the pilot whispered. Hana checked her instruments. "We are beyond the galaxy, in the space between galaxies. And these ruins, they are everywhere. Someone built all of this, someone with technology far beyond the council's." Minho smiled wider now. The council thought they were punishing humanity. They thought exile would break the human spirit, but they had given humanity something better than freedom in their galaxy. They had given them a reason to grow stronger. They had given them mystery, challenge, purpose. "Start scanning everything," Minho ordered, "and prepare a probe to go back through the gate. We need to tell Earth. The council exiled us from their galaxy. Fine. We will build our own." Yuna watched the data stream back to Earth. She began to laugh. Then she began to cry. Then she laughed again. The council had made a terrible mistake. They thought isolation would destroy humanity. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed. Room to grow. Room to explore. And technology that could change everything. The exile had begun. But so had humanity's true journey to greatness. 50 years had passed since the barrier went up. Admiral Taeyang stood on the observation deck of Frontier Station 1, looking out at the construction yards below. Dozens of new ships were being built, their hulls gleaming with technology that the Galactic Council had never seen. He was proud. His grandfather, Captain Minho, had started all of this before he died. Now Taeyang would finish it. A young woman appeared beside him. Engineer Suji was only 25, but she was the smartest person on the station. She carried a data pad and her eyes were bright with excitement. "Admiral, I did it. The jump gate network is fully mapped. There are 47 gates in total, all connected." Taeyang turned to her. "And they all work?" "Every single one. We can travel to regions of space the Council does not even know exist. But Admiral, that is not the best part." She handed him the data pad. "Look at what we found on the other side." The images showed massive structures floating in the dark between galaxies. Cities in space, each one larger than Earth's moon. They were ancient, covered in dust from millions of years of silence, but they were intact. "We are calling them the Architect Ruins," Suji explained. "Whoever built them had technology that makes the Council look primitive. We found power generators that still work after millions of years. Computers that store more data than every human library combined. And weapons, Admiral. Weapons that could destroy a star." Taeyang felt a chill run down his spine. "Who were they?" "We do not know yet, but we know what happened to them." She pulled up another image. This one showed a massive ship, different from anything human or alien. It was biological, like it had been grown instead of built. "We found thousands of these wrecks in the architect space. Whatever killed the architects came in ships like these. Are they still out there?" "We found warning beacons, automated systems that are still broadcasting after all this time. I had our computers translate the messages." She paused. "Admiral, the translation might not be perfect, but the message is clear. The architects were warning about something called the Devourers, something that eats entire civilizations. And according to the beacons, they come in cycles. Every million years, they sweep through this region of space. When is the next cycle?" Suji looked at him with worried eyes. "Soon, maybe in our lifetime." That night, Taeyang called a council meeting. Governor Jinwoo attended from the Rim colonies, appearing as a hologram. Jinwoo was a practical man who cared more about results than politics. "So we found ancient ruins with warnings about space monsters," Jinwoo said, his voice flat. "What do you want to do about it?" "We need to warn the council," said Counselor Yejin, an older woman who had worked with Ambassador Yuna before she died. This threat could destroy the entire galaxy. They need to know. Jinwoo laughed. The Council exiled us. They put up a barrier and told us to stay away forever. Now you want to help them? I want to save innocent lives, Hyejin replied. Then save human lives, Jinwoo shot back. We should focus on making ourselves stronger. Let the Council deal with their own problems. Taeyang listened to them argue. Part of him agreed with Jinwoo. The Council had treated humanity terribly, but another part remembered his grandfather's words. We are better than they think we are, so we must act better than they act. We will do both, Taeyang finally said. We will study the architect technology and make humanity strong. And we will prepare a warning for the Council just in case. But we will not send it yet, not until we know more. The years passed. Human scientists worked day and night, studying the architect ruins. They learned how to copy the power systems. They learned how to build stronger ships. They learned how to make weapons that could crack a planet in half. Suji led the research teams personally. She barely slept, driven by curiosity and fear. The architects had been incredibly advanced, yet something had destroyed them. She needed to know what. She needed to know how to stop it. Then, 5 years after finding the first ruins, Suji made a breakthrough. She found an architect database that was still intact. Inside were records, histories, final messages from a dying civilization. She read them for 3 days straight, her eyes growing red from lack of sleep. When she finally emerged from her lab, she went straight to Taeyang. I know what happened to them, she said. I know everything. Taeyang assembled the council again. Suji stood before them, her face pale. The architects were the masters of this region of space 2 million years ago, she began. They controlled thousands of star systems. They had defeated death itself. Some of their people lived for tens of thousands of years. They thought they were safe. Then the Devourers came. She showed images on the screen. The biological ships, millions of them, moving like a swarm of insects across space. The Devourers are not a civilization. They are more like a force of nature. They travel from galaxy to galaxy, consuming everything biological. They break down planets, strip stars of their energy, and use it all to make more of themselves. The architects fought them for 1,000 years, but they lost. The Devourers consumed 90% of their territory. The survivors built the jump gates and fled to our galaxy. Wait, Hyejin said. They came to our galaxy? Yes, millions of years ago. But the Devourers move slowly. They take time to consume everything before moving on. The architects hoped our galaxy would be safe for a few million years. Suji paused. They were wrong. According to their final calculations, the Devourers will reach our galaxy sooner than expected. Much sooner. How soon? Taeyang asked. 20 years? Maybe less. The room fell silent. Finally, Jinwoo spoke. And the council has no idea this is coming. No, and their weapons will not work. The architects tried everything. The only thing that hurt the Devourers was their most advanced technology. Technology that we are just beginning to understand. Taeyang stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human ships moved through space, strong and fast. But were they strong enough? Were they fast enough? Double the research efforts, he ordered. Triple the ship production. We have 20 years to prepare for a war that destroyed a civilization far greater than ours. What about the council? Hyejin asked. Taeyang looked at her. We will send them the warning. We will tell them what is coming. But I doubt they will listen. They think humanity is dangerous and primitive. They will not believe us until they see the Devourers with their own eyes. 15 years later, Taeyang's prediction came true. Human long-range sensors detected something at the edge of their space. A single ship, biological and massive, drifting through the dark. It was a scout, searching for new territory to consume. Suji examined the data and felt her blood run cold. It is them. The Devourers are here. Taeyang gave the order immediately. Send the warning to the council. Tell them everything. And prepare our fleets for war. The message was sent through the barrier using technology copied from the architects. It would take weeks to reach the council. Weeks that humanity could not afford to waste. Even if they believe us, Jinwoo said, they are not ready. Their weapons are too weak. Their ships are too slow. The Devourers will cut through them like paper. Taeyang nodded slowly. Then humanity will have to save them. Not because they deserve it, but because it is the right thing to do. Deep in space beyond the barrier, the Devourer scout ship detected the energy signatures of a populated galaxy. It sent a signal home calling it swarm. The call would take 5 years to reach them. But once it did, millions of Devourer ships would come. The galaxy had 5 years before the storm arrived. And only humanity knew it was coming. Fleet Commander Doyen watched the reports coming in from beyond the barrier. The news was bad. Actually, it was worse than bad. It was apocalyptic. 23 species had been completely destroyed. Their worlds were empty, stripped of all life. The Devourers had entered the galaxy 5 years ago, just as the Architect records predicted. And the Galactic Council was losing badly. "Commander," his communications officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission. It is coming through the barrier." "From who?" "The Galactic Council. It is a distress call. They are asking for help from anyone who can hear them." Doyen almost laughed. 75 years ago, the Council had exiled humanity. They had called humans dangerous. They had locked humanity away like criminals. Now they were begging for help. "Should we respond?" the officer asked. "Not yet. Let me hear the message first." The Supreme Chancellor appeared on the screen. The being of light and shadow looked dimmer now, flickering like a dying flame. "This is an emergency broadcast to all systems. The Devourers are real. They have destroyed 23 of our member species. Our fleets cannot stop them. Our weapons do not work. We are facing extinction. If anyone can hear this, please help us, please." The message ended. Doyen's crew looked at him, waiting for orders. He thought about his training. He thought about his duty. But most of all, he thought about his mentor, Admiral Taiyang, who had died 3 years ago from old age. Taiyang's last words to him had been simple: "Be better than they were." "Contact Earth," Doyen said. "Tell them we need a council meeting. Humanity has a decision to make." 2 days later, every human leader joined the video conference. Scientist Nari was there, the woman who had taken over Suji's work after she retired. Diplomat Hyun attended as well, the great-grandson of Ambassador Yuna, and Governor Jinwoo, now an old man but still stubborn as ever. "We should ignore them," Jinwoo said immediately. "They made their choice 75 years ago. Let them face the consequences." "Millions of innocent people are dying," Hyun argued. "People who had nothing to do with the exile, children, families. We have the power to save them." "Do we?" Jinwoo shot back. "We have never fought the Devourers. We only have the Architect technology. We do not know if it works," Nari spoke up. "Actually, we do. We tested the weapons on the Devourer scout ship that entered our space. The weapons work. We can hurt them. We can kill them. Then we should use those weapons to protect ourselves," Jinwoo said. "Build more ships. Make our borders stronger. The galaxy is not our problem." Doyen had heard enough. The galaxy will become our problem whether we like it or not. If the Devourers consume the Council species, they will come for us next. We can fight them now with allies or fight them later alone. I know which option gives us a better chance. The vote was close, but humanity decided. They would help, but they would do it on their own terms. Doyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Phoenix. Behind him, 200 human warships waited in formation. They were the most advanced vessels ever built, powered by Architect technology and armed with weapons that could tear apart Devourer bioships. "Are you sure about this?" his second officer asked. "The barrier could destroy us all. Nari says the shields will hold," Doyen replied. "The Architects built these shields to protect against anything. If they can survive a star-going supernova, they can survive the barrier." He gave the order. The fleet moved forward, shields glowing bright blue. They hit the barrier at full speed. Energy exploded around them. The barrier tried to tear the ships apart, just as it had done to every vessel that had tried to cross it for 75 years. But this time, the shields held. The Architect technology worked. One by one, the human ships emerged on the other side. They were through. They were back in the galaxy. Alarms went off immediately. 3 Council defense ships appeared, weapons charging. They had been stationed near the barrier to stop any humans from escaping. "This is Council Defense Command," a voice said over the radio. "Human vessels, you have violated the exile. Power down your weapons and prepare to be destroyed." Doyen opened a channel. "This is Fleet Commander Doyun of the Human Defense Force. We received your distress call. We are here to help fight the Devourers." There was a long silence. Then the voice came back, uncertain now. "Stand by. We are contacting our command." It took an hour for the Council to respond. When they did, the Supreme Chancellor appeared on Doyen's screen. The being looked even weaker than before. Commander Doyen, humanity was exiled. You should not be here. You asked for help. We came. We did not expect. We did not think. And the Chancellor paused. Your ships. They are different. More advanced. 75 years is a long time. We learned a lot in exile. Another voice interrupted. It was the Veltrax Emperor, the one who had pushed hardest for humanity's exile. We do not need human help. We will defeat the Devourers ourselves. As if to mock those words, an alarm sounded. A council officer shouted, Devourer ships detected. 3 harvester vessels approaching Sector 7. How far away are your nearest defense fleets? Doyen asked. 2 days, the Chancellor admitted. We can be there in 6 hours. Let us prove we can help. The Chancellor hesitated, but the fear in its voice was obvious. Go. Save them if you can. The human fleet jumped to hyperspace, moving far faster than any council ship could match. They arrived at Sector 7 to find 3 massive Devourer vessels stripping a planet of life. Council ships were trying to stop them, firing weapons that bounced off the Devourer armor like raindrops. All ships, Doyen commanded. Target the lead harvester. Fire everything. The human weapons lit up space. Beams of focused energy copied from architect design slammed into the Devourer ship. The bioarmor cracked. The ship screamed, a sound that traveled through space itself. Then it exploded in a burst of green fire. The 2 other Devourer ships turned to face this new threat. But they were too slow. The human ships moved like dancers, dodging the Devourer attacks while striking again and again. In 20 minutes, all 3 harvester vessels were destroyed. The council ships floated in stunned silence. Then the radio exploded with voices all talking at once, all asking the same question. How did you do that? Doyen smiled. We had 75 years to learn. Now where are the rest of your people who need saving? The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. Humanity had returned. Humanity had defeated the Devourers. Humanity had technology that could save them all. The Veltrax Emperor called an emergency council meeting. He stood before the gathered species, his pride obviously wounded. The humans have proven themselves useful, he said carefully. But this does not change what they are. Dangerous. Unpredictable. We should accept their help for now, but maintain the exile once the crisis ends. Hyun, watching from his ship, shook his head. The Emperor still did not understand, but others did. Within days, 30 species sent secret messages to humanity. They wanted protection. They wanted to join forces. They wanted what the Veltrax Emperor could not give them. Hope. Doyen made a decision that would change the galaxy. We will protect anyone who asks. We do not need council permission. We will save everyone we can. The human fleet spread across the galaxy, moving from system to system, destroying Devourer ships and saving worlds. And everywhere they went, more species joined their cause. The old Galactic Council was crumbling. A new alliance was forming, one with humanity at its heart. And when the Veltrax homeworld came under attack, when their proud fleets were destroyed in minutes, when their emperor sent a desperate plea for help, Doyen did not hesitate. Set course for Veltrax Prime, he ordered. Maximum speed. His officer looked surprised. Sir, they exiled us. They hate us. They are still people, and people deserve to be saved. The Phoenix jumped to hyperspace, racing to save the very species that had condemned humanity, because that was what humans did. They were better than the ones who hurt them. They always had been. Grand Admiral Sora stood in the war room, looking at the galaxy map that filled the entire wall. Red markers showed where the Devourers were attacking. Blue markers showed where human allied forces were defending. 8 years had passed since humanity returned to save the galaxy. 8 years of constant war. Status report, she commanded. An officer stepped forward. We have pushed the Devourers back from the core systems, but they keep coming. We destroy 10 ships, 20 more appear. We need to find their source. Captain Johann entered the room, his armor still smoking from his last battle. He led the special forces teams that boarded Devourer ships to learn their secrets. It was the most dangerous job in the fleet, and Johann volunteered for every mission. Grand Admiral, I have news. We found something inside the last hive ship we raided. He pulled up images on the screen. Inside the biological ship, human soldiers had discovered a massive chamber. At the center was a creature unlike anything they had seen before. It was enormous, easily 50 meters long with hundreds of tendrils connected to the ship's systems. This is a queen, Johann explained. The Devourers are not individual ships. They are all connected through these queens. She controls everything. The drones, the harvesters, the warriors. Kill the queen and the entire fleet goes silent. Sora felt hope for the first time in months. How many queens are there? We found data cores in the hive ship. According to the information, there are 7 queen ships in the galaxy. Each one controls millions of drones. Chancellor Minji, who had replaced the old council with the new Galactic Alliance, appeared on the video screen. She was human, elected by all the species that had joined the Alliance. 2/3 of the galaxy now followed her leadership. If we destroy the queens, we win the war? She asked. Yes, Johan confirmed. But the queens are protected. They stay far from the front lines, surrounded by thousands of warriors. Getting to them will be nearly impossible. Nearly impossible is better than completely impossible, Sora said. She turned to her staff. Begin planning Operation Blackout. We are going to kill all 7 queens at the same time. The plan was insane. 7 strike forces would have to travel deep into Devourer territory, fighting through massive defenses and reach the queens within hours of each other. If they took too long, the other queens would be warned and would escape. Sora assembled the best warriors from every allied species. Humans led the teams, but they were joined by Veltrac shock troops, Karathi telepaths who could confuse Devourer drones, and Mysari engineers who could sabotage bioships from the inside. The old racial divisions meant nothing now. They were all fighting for survival. The Veltrac's emperor, humbled after humanity saved his world, personally volunteered to lead one of the strike forces. Sora almost refused, but Minji convinced her to accept. Let him fight, Minji said. Let him prove that he has changed. That all of us have changed. 3 months later, Operation Blackout began. 7 fleets jumped to hyperspace simultaneously, each one heading to a different queen ship location. Sora commanded the main fleet personally, while Johan led the ground team that would board the queen ship. The first wave of Devourers hit them like a wall. Millions of drones swarmed the human ships, trying to overwhelm them with numbers. But the Alliance had learned from 8 years of war. They knew how to fight together, how to cover each other's weaknesses, how to turn the Devourers' numbers against them. All ships, Formation Delta 7, Sora commanded. The fleet moved into a sphere, creating overlapping fields of fire. The drones that got through were torn apart before they could reach the capital ships. Slowly, painfully, the fleet pushed forward. They lost ships. They lost friends. But they did not stop. Johan's boarding team hit the queen ship's hull at full speed, cutting through the bio-armor with plasma torches. Inside, they found a nightmare. The ship was alive, breathing, bleeding when they cut it. Devourer warriors waited in the dark corridors, attacking with claws and acid. The team fought forward, step by bloody step. Johan lost half his soldiers in the first hour. But the survivors kept moving, driven by the knowledge that if they failed, the galaxy would fall. They reached the Queen's chamber. The massive creature sensed them and screamed, a sound that made their bones shake. Hundreds of tendrils whipped toward them, trying to crush the invaders. Plant the charges, Johan shouted. His soldiers ran through the tentacles, attaching bombs made from architect technology to the Queen's body. Several soldiers were caught and torn apart, but enough of them made it. Charges set. Everyone out. They ran back through the dying ship as the timers counted down. Behind them, the Queen screamed again, this time in pain. The explosions tore through her body, killing her instantly. Across the galaxy, the other 6 teams succeeded at nearly the same moment. All 7 queens died within 1 hour of each other. And across space, millions of Devourer ships suddenly went dark. They drifted, lifeless, no longer controlled by the Queen's will. The galaxy erupted in celebration. Humanity had done the impossible. The Devourers were defeated. The war was over. But Sora did not celebrate. She had been a soldier too long to trust victory, and her instincts were right. Minji came to her quarters 3 days after the victory. The Chancellor looked worried. We found something in the architect databases, Minji said. Nari was doing research, trying to understand more about the Devourers. She found old files hidden deep in the system, files about why the Devourers came to our galaxy in the first place. Why did they come? Minji pulled up an image. It showed something that looked like pure energy, shaped vaguely like a massive creature. The architects called them the Eternals. They are beings made of energy instead of matter, and they consume biological life to fuel themselves. The Devourers were not invading our galaxy. They were running from the Eternals. Sora felt cold. And the Eternals? Are following them. Our sensors detected massive energy signatures at the galactic rim, on the opposite side from where the Devourers came from. Nari thinks they will reach the populated systems in less than a year. Can we fight them? The architects tried, they lost. That is why they built all that technology we have been using. They were trying to find a way to fight energy beings, but they ran out of time. Sora walked to the window and looked out at the fleet. They had just won the hardest war in galactic history. The soldiers were exhausted. The ships were damaged. And now they faced something even worse. What about the Devourer fleets? The ones that went silent? They are drifting in space, dead. Why? Because we might need them. If the Eternals consume biological life, then the Devourers are biological. Which means the Eternals can eat them too. Sora smiled grimly. Tell Nari to find a way to reactivate the Devourer ships. We are going to need every weapon we can get. Minji stared at her. You want to use our enemies' fleets? I want to survive. And if that means making allies with dead monsters, so be it. The Eternals are coming. And when they arrive, they will find every species in this galaxy united against them. Human, Veltrax, Karathi, Mysari, and yes, even Devourer. Because we are not going to run like the architects did. We are going to fight. She turned back to Minji. Send a message to every ship in the Alliance. Tell them to rest while they can. Because in 1 year, the real war begins. And this time we are fighting for more than survival. We are fighting for the right to exist. Deep in space, the Eternal Swarm drew closer. They had consumed 1,000 galaxies over millions of years. They expected this one to fall like all the others. But they did not know about humanity. They did not know what Exile had created. They were about to learn. Supreme Guardian Junho stood before the Ascension Array, looking up at the massive structure that orbited the galactic core. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The architects had built this as their last hope, their final weapon against the Eternals. And now humanity had to decide whether to use it. Dr. Yunji stood beside him, her hands covered in dust from working on the ancient machine for 2 straight years. She had aged badly during that time, but her eyes were still sharp. It works, she said quietly. We tested it. The array can transform any biological being into an energy-matter hybrid. Part physical, part energy. It is how the architects tried to fight the Eternals on their own level. But they lost anyway, Junho said. Yes, because they were too few by the time they built it. The Eternals had already destroyed most of their civilization. They used the array, they fought, but there were not enough of them. Behind them, Elder Seojin approached slowly. He was 156 years old, the last human alive who remembered Earth before the exile. He had been a child when the Galactic Council locked humanity away. Now he was the wisest voice in the Alliance. So we face a choice, Seojin said. Use the array, become something not quite human anymore and maybe survive, or stay as we are and definitely die. There might be another way, Yunji said. She pulled up plans on her datapad. The array does not have to change us. We can modify it. Turn it into a weapon instead of a transformation chamber. Every species in the galaxy contributes a piece of themselves. DNA, energy signatures, mental patterns. We combine it all together using the array, and we create something new, not a transformation. More like a massive bomb made of life itself. Junho studied the plans. The Unity Strike. Yes, the architect records say the Eternals consume biological energy, so we give them more than they can handle. We overload them. Will it work? I do not know, but it is the only choice where we stay human. Junho looked at Seojun. The old man smiled. 100 years ago, the galaxy exiled us because they said we were too dangerous, too different. Now you want every species to combine their differences into one weapon. The irony is beautiful. It is our only chance, Junho said. He opened a communication channel to every ship, every station, every world in the Alliance. Billions of people watched as his face appeared on their screens. People of the galaxy, he began. The Eternals have reached our space. In 3 days they will arrive at the core worlds. Our fleets are ready. Our weapons are charged. But Dr. Yunji has discovered something, a way to fight them that requires all of us together. I am asking each species to contribute genetic material, to trust us, to trust each other. This is our last chance, not as separate peoples but as one galaxy. Will you help us? The responses came quickly. The humans agreed first, of course, then the Veltrax, who had learned humility through defeat. The Karathi, the Mysari, the Takesh, One by one, every species in the Alliance said yes. Even the few remaining Devourer bioships, now controlled by Alliance computers, contributed their strange biological patterns. For 2 days, ships from across the galaxy arrived at the array, bringing samples. Hyunji and her team worked without sleep, feeding everything into the ancient machine. The array began to glow, brighter and brighter as it processed the combined essence of thousands of species. On the 3rd day, the Eternals arrived. They came as waves of pure energy, vast and terrible. They looked like enormous beings made of lightning and fire, each one the size of a moon. There were thousands of them, maybe millions. They had consumed galaxies before. This one would be easy. The Alliance fleet met them at the galactic core. Every ship that could fly, every weapon that could fire, stood together in the largest military formation in history. Juno commanded from the center, his flagship surrounded by vessels from 100 species. All ships, he ordered. Fire everything. The galaxy lit up with weapons fire. Missiles, lasers, plasma cannons, even the reactivated Devourer bioweapons. All of it struck the Eternals. And all of it did nothing. The energy beings absorbed the attacks, growing stronger from the power. They are feeding on our weapons, Johan reported from his cruiser. Every shot makes them more powerful. Then we stop shooting, Junho said. All ships cease fire. Begin the retreat pattern. The fleet pulled back, drawing the Eternals deeper into the core. The energy beings followed. Sensing the life energy of billions of crew members, they wanted to consume it all. Yunji, how long until the Unity strike is ready? 10 minutes. But Junho, someone has to deliver it. The array cannot fire the weapon remotely. Someone needs to fly it directly into the center of the Eternal Swarm. Junho knew what that meant. It was a one-way trip. Whoever delivered the weapon would not come back. Prepare my personal fighter, he ordered. I will take it myself. Guardian Junho, no. Minji appeared on his screen. We need you. Let someone else. No, I am the Supreme Guardian. This is my duty. He smiled at her. Besides, I am 78 years old. I have lived a good life. Make sure everyone remembers this. Not the explosion, not the weapon, but the fact that every species came together. That is the real victory. He left the bridge before anyone could argue. His small fighter was ready, the Unity strike loaded in its hold. The weapon glowed with a light that was every color at once, the combined essence of galactic life. Junho launched from the flagship and flew straight toward the Eternal Swarm. They sensed him immediately and converged, eager to consume this tiny morsel of life. He dodged through their energy attacks, his fighter moving with the skill of decades of flying. This is for my grandfather, he said into the radio. Captain Minho, who refused to give up when the galaxy gave up on us. He dove deeper into the swarm. The Eternals surrounded him completely now. This is for every human who died to get us here, and for every alien who learned that we were worth saving. His fighter reached the exact center of the Eternal formation. He armed the Unity strike, and this is for the future. May we all live to see it. He pressed the trigger. The Unity strike exploded outward in a sphere of impossible light. It was not just energy. It was life itself, concentrated and weaponized. The Eternals tried to consume it as they consumed everything. But there was too much. The weapon overloaded them, burning through their energy forms, disrupting the patterns that held them together. One by one, the Eternals flickered and died. The light spread through their entire swarm, reaching even the ones at the edges. In 30 seconds, it was over. Thousands of Eternals gone, destroyed by the combined power of galactic unity. The fleet waited in silence. Then someone started cheering. Then everyone was cheering, crying, hugging each other. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had survived, but the cost was heavy. Hunyo was gone. So were thousands of other ships that had fought in the final battle. The victory celebration was mixed with grief. Minji ordered the array to be converted into a permanent barrier, using the same principles as the Unity strike. It would stand at the galactic rim, powered by voluntary contributions from every species. No Eternal would ever enter their galaxy again. 20 years later, Elder Seojin stood before a crowd of thousands. They had gathered to remember the centennial anniversary of humanity's exile. Seojin was 176 now, barely able to stand, but his voice was still strong. 100 years ago, he said, the Galactic Council feared us. They locked us away because we were different, dangerous, too ambitious. And you know what? They were right. The crowd laughed nervously. We were dangerous. because we refused to accept limits. We were ambitious, because we dreamed of more than survival. And we were different, because we believed that being different was strength, not weakness. He paused. The council thought exile would destroy us. Instead, it forced us to become stronger, to learn, to adapt. And when the galaxy needed saving, it was humanity, the exiled species, who led the way. He gestured to the sky, where ships from 100 species flew in formation. All of them bore the symbol of the Galactic Protectorate, the new alliance that had replaced the old council. Today, we are not masters of the galaxy. We do not rule it, but we guard it, we protect it, and we do so alongside every species who once feared us, because we proved that exile could not break the human spirit. It could only make it stronger. A young cadet approached him after the speech. Elder Seojin, do you think we will ever be truly accepted? Seojin looked at the cadet, then at the ships flying overhead. Accepted? Look around you, child. Those ships fly with us. Those species trust us. They send their children to learn in our schools. They adopt our innovations. Acceptance does not matter anymore. Respect does. And that we have earned with blood and sacrifice, he smiled. The galaxy exiled us once. We came back and saved it. That is our legacy, and it will echo through the stars forever. Above them, the barrier at the galactic rim glowed softly, protecting trillions of lives. It was powered by the unity of all species, the same unity that had destroyed the Eternals. And at its heart was humanity, the exiled species who had become the galaxy's greatest guardians, not through conquest, not through domination, but through sacrifice, courage, and the simple refusal to give up. The galaxy had tried to lock humanity away. Instead, humanity had saved it all.